Babe, please stop sending Cooper Flagg to the Spurs.
But ESPN said it's still possible.
You know, some things in life are better left behind and forgotten. You didn't get to fire back a witty comeback at the school bully. You didn't become class president, and you didn't buy Bitcoin at pizza prices. So there's no point dwelling on it. Just let it go. The Spurs couldn't capture the flag, okay, but the second pick is also great, especially when you have Wembanyama, Fox, Castle, and a bunch of other solid players. And your odds of landing the second pick were lower than the chance that a random man on the street is colorblind. And I'm not even joking right now. But ESPN and Givony himself decided to reopen our old wounds. A couple of days ago, I came across an article titled Potential Trade Offers for Top 2025 Draft Pick Cooper Flagg, where ESPN analysts suggest that despite Dallas landing the first pick, Flagg ending up with the Mavericks isn't a done deal yet. He could still wind up on another team. Well, this is the perfect time to pat myself on the back and say, I told you so. I said it before the lottery. I said it the day after the lottery. So ESPN is kind of late to the party. And I'd call the score 2-0 in my favor. But enough gloating. Let's see what options ESPN is suggesting. First, the author explains how Dallas got lucky with the first pick and how Cooper Flagg is an amazing player, blah, blah, blah. But then they remember that Dallas's payroll is already packed. They have few future trade assets left to spend on upgrades, plus Kyrie and Davis are already over 30. Plus, Nico Harrison also has a reputation as a GM who loves making trades. He's already made 16 of them since 2021. So it might actually make sense for Dallas to consider trading the first pick. Alright, fine, let's say that makes sense. Now let's take a look at the trade options for Cooper Flagg that ESPN is proposing. And bam! First line, in the very first option, we see the Spurs! Shocking. Who could have possibly predicted this twist? According to the article, a potential trade could look like this. San Antonio Spurs get this year's first pick. Dallas Mavericks get this year's second and 14th picks. Future Atlanta Hawks' first rounder, and return of swap rights to Mavericks' 2030 first rounder. What looks surprising, it's not just the number of picks involved, but the fact that the Spurs would have to give up the second best pick in the draft plus 3 additional trade assets, and decent ones at that. In our last video, we discussed rumors about the Nets and Dylan where the hypothetical trade involved the Spurs swapping their number 2 pick for Brooklyn's number 8 plus a mid-first rounder, along with Brooklyn sending more proven role players in return. The logic there was clear. Trading down from a potential elite talent for a slightly lesser prospect plus depth. Of course, we can debate whether the price is fair, but the reasoning is sound. In this potential trade with Dallas, we're essentially discussing swapping one elite talent for another elite talent, who might be only marginally better, perhaps by a few percentage points. The key question is that slight difference, if it even exists, significant enough to justify giving up 3 additional first-round picks? The article supports this argument with the following historical parallels. In 2017, the Philadelphia 76ers needed to send only a single future first-rounder to Boston to jump from number 3 to number 1. But that's not an especially useful model here, because then Celtics GM Danny Ainge didn't view Markelle Fultz, the consensus top prospect in 2017, as favorably as everyone views Flagg this year. In 1993, the Warriors sent 3 future firsts to the Orlando Magic to facilitate a swap of number 3 pick, Penny Hardaway, Memphis, for number 1 pick, Chris Webber, Michigan. That sounds about right here, with Flagg filling in for Webber, who, like Flagg, was a mega prospect coming off a standout college career, and Dylan Harper filling in for Hardaway as a big dynamic guard. As we can see, there are different historical precedents for the cost of swapping an undisputed number 1 pick for a top 3 selection, and it's up to us to decide whether the potential Flagg for Harper trade more closely resembles the 2017 scenario or the 1993 deal. After the Luka trade, Dallas's front office stated they want to win immediately. And according to rumors, the Spurs also believe their rebuild is nearing completion. It will be Wembanyama's 3rd season, and the team should already be pushing for playoffs. If we approach this not from trying to predict Flagg's and Harper's upside, but from immediate competitive improvement, this trade makes sense for both teams. Dallas gets a Luka Doncic replacement, a big combo guard to pair with Kyrie, the foundation for a new big 3 that's easy to build around, San Antonio gets an elite frontcourt mate for Wembanyama. Twin Towers 2.0 for the next decade. In my last video about Harper's fit, I argued that integrating Dylan into the Spurs roster, alongside Fox and Castle, would be challenging but far from impossible. But Cooper Flagg is obviously a much clearer fit who'd integrate far more seamlessly into the Spurs starting lineup. Does this mean San Antonio should go all in and attempt this trade if possible? Personally, I maintain a cautious stance on this issue. Both potential paths seem equally good to me. Drafting Harper is an excellent idea. The team would become more talented while preserving all its draft assets and financial flexibility to execute virtually any future trade. Trading for Flagg, good idea too. The Spurs would acquire the most talented young core in the NBA, laying the foundation for a new dynasty that could last a decade. But if you're expecting a binary yes or no answer about this trade, I still lean toward the price being too high. The difference in talent and ceiling between these two young prospects isn't that critical. Yes, Flagg is an excellent young player who doesn't come around every draft, but he also has some question marks. A more detailed Cooper breakdown will come soon. You know what to do. So if I were in Brian Wright's position and this trade was actually on the table, I wouldn't agree immediately. I'd think it over some more. Maybe try to remove the 14th pick from this year's draft from the deal, or something along those lines. As for Nico Harrison, I'd 100% reject such a trade, even though it makes some sense for the Mavericks. In just a few months, Nico went from being the most hated man in the NBA to potentially the biggest winner among executives in 2025. In his position, any reasonable person would play it safe and avoid risking new uprisings in Dallas. So, what do you think? Comments are still free, by the way.